Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us for this edition of Channel 1 Lunchtime News. My name is Edward Kabasa. You can interact with us all over social media at KBC Channel 1 on Twitter, KBC Channel 1 on Facebook. This broadcast is also available on YouTube. Byron Abuli is handling the sign language interpretation for us this afternoon. Welcome to the program. The county government of Taita Taveta has commenced a mass testing exercise for COVID-19 among residents of Voi. The county health CEC, John Mwakima, says the exercise was important given that the area handles hundreds of cargo trucks to and from Mombasa. Taita Taveta County has 15 cases of coronavirus, majority being truck drivers.
Voi residents in Taita Taveta County turned up for COVID-19 screening in large numbers as the county government launched the program set to benefit the locals.
Sababu kwa tunasikia kwamba kule Malaba, saidi kama za Busia kwamba madereva huko wamewekwa jamu, wengine wanawekwa quarantine kwa sababu ya corona. Sasa watu wengi tulikuwa tumehofia sana because hapa ni parking yao na hapa wanalala, si ndio? Hatujui nani akona corona, nani hana corona. Na hapa kunapita watu wadogo, watu wakubwa wanapita.
Na biashara wengi wanatamani kurudi kazini lakini hawakuwa na uwezo. Maana wengi wamekula pia pesa ya biashara. So hata ile pesa shilingi 10,000 ama 3,000 zimekuwa ni changamoto kwao kuweza pia kutembelea eneo la kupimwa.
County CEC John Mwakima, who called on all residents to take advantage of the free testing exercise, noted that the county was at risk of the outbreak owing to movement of truck drivers via the area to and from Mombasa.
Kwa nini tunaanzisha zoezi hili? Ni kwamba hivi majuzi tuliweza kufanya random testing katika barabara yetu hii ya kutoka Mombasa kuelekea Nairobi, na kwa random test ambayo tulifanya siku moja kwa lisali moja tuliweza kupata kesi za madereva wawili ambao walikuwa positive na ugonjwa huu wa corona. Hiyo inatuambia nini? Hiyo inatuambia kwamba miongoni mwa wale madereva ambao wanatoka Mombasa wakielekea maeneo ya Nairobi ama ambao wanatoka maeneo ya Nairobi wakishuka upande wa Mombasa, kuna wale ambao wako na ugonjwa huu na hawajui.
Taita Taveta has 15 confirmed cases of coronavirus, majority being truckers. This as a section of Migori clerics have put on place measures in anticipation of resumption of operations. Head of PEFA Churches, Bishop John Okinda, says they are looking forward to cushioning congregants from the risks of the deadly virus should the government open doors of the houses of worship.
If a church was carrying 50 people, they can do even 15 or 20 to the maximum to make sure that they are not violating the protocol of social distancing.
Purity Museo, Channel 1 News.
Let's now cross over to the City Park, where Environment Cabinet Secretary Kiriako Tobiko is leading efforts there to rehabilitate the park. Let us listen in.
Over time, as you know, this park has gone through processes in spaces in the city and in other places in this country. Greed, corruption prevailed. The area was grabbed, and only in 2014 that part of it was reclaimed through revocation of title by the National Land Commission. So what has been reclaimed is 60 hectares. So we're talking about another 30 hectares that are still in private hands. And we shall be inquiring into who and how and under what legal justification that was done. Now, because again of these, the area has been degraded. It is not just a biodiversity green space with indigenous forests, flora and fauna, but it is also a place of huge and great national historical importance. You may know already that within this area we have the cemetery, the graves for the war veterans. The veterans for World War I and World War II. Here we have the grave for the late Pio Gama Pindo. Here we have the grave of our second vice president, the late Joseph Morumbi, and others. Through the efforts of the Friends of City Park, working very closely with, and I must comment here and appreciate on the work that the Friends of City Park have done. Without them, we would not be here today. And also the National Museums of Kenya. They had to step in, National Museums of Kenya had to step in and at these 60 hectares reclaimed, declared as a national monument. They also had to declare the maize, that's Mtego Panya and Soram, also as national monuments. So this area is a national monument. They had to undertake some preemptive protective measures to protect this. The Friends of the City Park have been on these. They have prepared detailed master plans, designed landscaping, and so on and so forth. Now, the President recently directed us, as part of his Greening Kenya initiative agenda, to map out, reclaim, restore, beautify, and protect all green spaces within the city. We started recently, 2 months ago, with Michuki Park. We are almost done. And he...
That is Environment Cabinet Secretary Kiriako Tobiko. At the City Park in Nairobi, the government is intending to spearhead the rehabilitation of that park. Of course, this is in collaboration with the Kenya Forest Service. We now cross over to the NSSF building, where a census report has been released. I understand that is not yet ready, but as soon as it is, we'll take you there. But just a quick one on that. There were 46,639 street persons spread across the 47 counties. This is according to the census conducted on this particular group of people in 2018, and most of the street persons were males, comprising 72.4%. Details of that will be made available to you. But before that, a section of members of the Bungoma County Assembly now claim that the move to push out Moses Wetangula out of Fort Kenya was orchestrated by Bungoma Governor Wycliffe Wangamati. The ward representatives claim the governor was putting his self-interest ahead of those of the party in Bungoma County. The leader of the majority party in the Bungoma County Assembly, Juma Nyongesa, says the party members remain solidly behind embattled Senator Moses Wetangula.
Mambo ambayo yanaendelea katika chama ya Fort Kenya, mimi binafsi sitapendezwa, lakini kama mwananchi ambaye napenda haki, mimi pato niko katika upande wa mheshimiwa Wetangula. Hilo si hata swala pengine tutangangana nalo kwa ajili kuna mambo mengi ambayo sisi tumeona akitufanyia.
Nyongesa and a host of other ward representatives have accused Bungoma Governor Wycliffe Wangamati of bringing Ford Kenya to disrepute.
Alisema ya kwamba mheshimiwa Weta alikuwa mlekevu kwa kazi. Na hivi sasa nataka hata yeye nimwambie katika executive yake tunajua kuna watu ambao wanaelekea kufanya kazi. Sasa wewe mwenyewe umeanzisha vita, nazi vile vile tunaangazia kwa upande wako. Na tukianza kutoa wale hawafanyi kazi, usisimame mbele.
Meanwhile, a section of elders from Busia County has rejected the appointment of Busia County Woman Representative Florence Mutua as the region spokesperson.
This was a gross protocol violation of Luya, Teso, and all communities in this county. as is a great concern to us because the Council of Elders was not consulted.
The leaders argued that the decision to anoint the legislator as a spokesperson was in bad faith and will work against efforts to bring unity among residents of Busia. All right, let us now take you to the NSSF building here in Nairobi, where a census report has been released on the number of street families in Kenya, where one of the things to note is that 72% of these people are male. Kamche Menza has been following that for us, and we now cross over to her. Kamche with more.
All right, Kabasa, indeed, like you said, we are coming to you live from the NSSF buildings at the Ministry of Labor's office, rather. And today, what the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection was doing, like you said, was the street families that was done in 2018, and it's a report that we've heard, it's the first report to have ever been done in the country, which has come up with the statistics of about 46,000 and above rather of the street families on our streets that we see, not just in Nairobi, the major urban centers, namely the Kisumu, that was Uasin Gishu, or rather Eldoret, and also Nakuru, all those totaling up to over 46 street families that we see on a daily basis. Ahead to try and find out the major reasons that were, or rather the underlying issues that these families, or rather these individuals, were moving into the streets. Some of the issues that were being pointed out was that most of it was that they lacked love in the families. Some reasons being the death of parents. Some of them are divorce issues. Some of them are being abused in the houses. So those are some of the issues that have actually come out. And of course, of Labor and Social Protection, of course, it's working in conjunction with the UNICEF, actually, in coming up with this report, as well as the Street Families Rehabilitation Trust Fund, which actually has also been in the forefront to actually see these street families actually get some help from the government. But what we understand is that street families have been identified as a vulnerable population. But the major problem that has been facing the government in trying to help these people is that they did not have statistics. They did not know where exactly they were. Another issue is that what could be the reasons that are driving them into the urban centers. One was how many are to budget for these street families, then how much will be put aside, then what are some of the ways that they could use to actually try and reach these people. And it's not just about helping them financially, but as well as identifying the issues that have driven them all the way from the rural areas or from their homes into the urban street. So these are some of the issues that they're saying the statistics, or rather the report on and the census and the issues around the street families actually will help them to come up with policies to see this is a vulnerable group, like the people with disabilities, the old people, children. So these ones are going to be put in that particular group, yes. But who are they? Where are they? How many are they? If they are to budget for them, how are they going to go about it? So basically that is what has been happening, and they're saying the report will actually help in actually identifying and formulating policies to actually help these people, and hopefully to actually totally remove them from the streets. So one of the issues that is actually coming up now is it's in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, the street kids have been said bearing in fact that they are so exposed. They don't have homes, they do not have water, they do not have food. So those are some of the issues that have been actually worked on. I'm now joined by Street Families Rehabilitation Trust Fund, that is the chairperson, Chebi Kilimo, to tell us about how they have been going about the street kids. We actually see them on the streets, but you know what they've told us is that from the 17th of March, they say there is no case of a street child which has been reported, a positive case of COVID-19, because from the 17th of March, immediately the first case was confirmed. The Street Family Rehabilitation Trust Fund actually went on the street with their social workers to pick these people and try to convince them to go back to institutions identified to try and reintegrate them with their families. But there are issues, of course, emerging, and I'm joined by Chebi Kilimo, who's the chairperson for that trust fund, to actually paint more picture to Kenyans on what exactly is happening, because we can still see some street children on the streets. Karibu.
Yeah, thank you very much.
The issues about street children or people living in the streets, as I
All right, we are experiencing some technical difficulties with the network there, but that is a census that has just been released detailing the status of street families in Kenya. Of course, this is a statistic that was collected in all the 47 counties. Kamche Menza will be packaging that for us, and it will be made available to you in our subsequent bulletins. Let us take a look at other matters, where the Harambee Sacco has donated personal protective equipment to members of the National Police Service as part of efforts to combat COVID-19 pandemic in Nyeri County. The donations include face masks, gloves, improvised watering systems for hand washing, soaps and sanitizers. Harambee Sacco CEO George Ochiri says the war against COVID-19 must be a concerted effort, one that cannot be left to the government alone. Harambee Sacco CEO Ochiri says the National Police Service remains crucial in the fight against COVID-19 in the country. He said the police are at a great risk of contracting coronavirus as they enforce the guidelines on COVID-19. Out of the 73,000 registered members of the Harambee Sacco, 43,000 are servicemen and women drawn from the National Police Service.
Harambee Sacco is the Sacco for the office of the President, and today we are starting with Nyeri County, which is basically also office of the President. We intend to do this throughout the country. We will reach out to all the counties. We'll also reach out to all the units under the office of the President, a number of KDF units, police installations, and wherever there is need and wherever we have members, hopefully that we should be able to participate in our small way.
We will go far ahead to assist our members of the SACCO to obey the guidelines that have been set by the Ministry of Health.
Well, thank you very much for keeping us company. We are taking a short break, but don't go anywhere. Channel 1 Lunchtime News continues shortly.
Je, ungependa kujua jinsi ninavyojizuia kuambukizwa au kuambukizana virusi vya korona? Ni rahisi. Mwanzo, ninaziendesha shughuli zangu zote za kikazi na hata za kibiashara kutoka papa hapa nyumbani kwangu. Baadaye, ninaitunza mwili wangu vyema kwa kuiweka katika hali iliyo sawa kupitia mazoezi ya mara kwa mara na pia lishe bora. Mwishowe, ninaungana na jamii yangu pamoja na marafiki zangu kupitia njia ya simu au mtandao ili kuzuia dhiki na upweke wakati huu mgumu. Kumbuka, haijalishi kama uko na virusi vya korona au la, salia nyumbani. Uokoe maisha.
On the next episode of Corner.
Hey, what's up?
It's Julia.
What happened?
Don't you dare.
Then stop testing me. You have 10 seconds.
Wanjala, please.
9, 8, 7.
You asked me why. Rescue Julia.
It cannot all be perfect.
I'm not looking for perfect. I wanted to be his number one. But that will never happen, will it?
On the next episode of Elena's Ghost.
You're completely worthless. You're going to rot in prison.
Yes, that's what you think, my love. But before you can imagine it, I'll be out on the street with much more power than I had before. And when that happens, Elena, I'm gonna come looking for you. And I'll watch you throw yourself at my feet, on your knees, begging me for your life.
It's like, I don't know, it's like they ripped her heart right out of her chest.
Yes. And now she's going to take revenge on those who hurt her.
Welcome back to the program. Kenya is marking the Anti-Counterfeit Day at the KICC, and our reporter Betty Kiptum has been following that for us. Let us now cross over to her at the KICC.
Now, a very good afternoon to you there, Ed Kabasa in the KBC studios. I'm coming to you live from the Kenya International Conference Center, that is the KICC, here where the commemoration for the Anti-Counterfeit Day was happening. Remember, it's celebrated all around the world. And just to paint a picture of the situation of the illicit trade industry in Kenya, it stands at a value of 826 billion shillings. That is over half of what the Kenya Revenue Authority collects on a yearly basis. And also a 10% growth, that was from 2017 to 2018, a 10% growth in illicit trade, which is worrying because the experts in this forum, from the Anti-Counterfeit Agency to the Kenya Bureau of Standards as well as KRA, the Kenya Revenue Authority, insisted that this is going to kill the manufacturing sector. Remember that 66% of Kenyans are said to have knowledge or to know about illicit trade, but only 49% of them can identify the substandard goods. And this means that someone may know that there is illicit trade out there, but when they see a substandard good, they end up buying it not knowing that it is substandard. And of course, one point that was brought out is that awareness creation is very important for people to be more involved in the fight against the trade. And also from May of 2018, there was about 2.8 billion worth of goods that were destroyed by the multi-agency team against illicit trade, and 13.5 billion worth of goods that were seized. These are quite some strides towards the fight against the illicit trade, but more needs to be done, definitely. They say that apart from awareness creation, it is a corruption issue, that the corruption needs to be dealt with, it needs to be nabbed. People are just using people's lives, really, because they end up giving them illicit goods, be it electronics, be it makeup or cosmetics, be it the food that gets on people's tables, the substandard goods or piracy even of music that now affects people's earnings, the people in the creative industry. It is quite a wide array of options for the illicit traders, and the government has insisted that it is going to continue in the fight against illicit trade. Today being the World Anti-Counterfeit Day, it is said that most people should just make themselves aware of how they can play a part in these. Electronics was said to be the highest counterfeited goods that Kenyans are buying. Also, there is the issue of cosmetics, and Nairobi, followed by Mombasa and Nyeri, are the counties that most of the counterfeit goods are sold. It is quite an expansive report that was launched here, but the efforts against illicit trade continue. Edward Kabasa, back to you in studio.
Thank you very much, Betty Kiptum, for that. Let us cross over to Mombasa, where taxi operators at the Moi International Airport in Mombasa are decrying loss of business caused by the extended ban on international and domestic flights as a measure to stem the spread of the coronavirus. According to the chairperson of the Joint Airport Taxi Operators Association, Peter Wambugu, most taxi operators are desperate as they have no other source of income.
Restriction of movement to control the spread of COVID-19 has taken a toll on taxi operators at the Moi International Airport in Mombasa.
Kiri katika all the sector imeathirika sana kwa ajili ya hii hali ya pandemic is the tourism industry. Manake tourism industry unapata ya kuwa when the flights were suspended, airports zikafungwa, haswa watu wa taxi. Sisi tulikuwa na total shutdown, ambapo tulikuwa hakuna vile unaweza toka nyumbani uende pahali. Manake pale tulikuwa tunaenda kufanya kazi, palifungwa kabisa.
They say 3 months into the ban on international and domestic flights, they are feeling the pinch caused by loss of business. The chairman of the Joint Airport Taxi Operators Association, Peter Wambogo, says operators are suffering and swift intervention is needed.
Watu wote mpaka hawa kama ni waziri na nani wakija na hao madai na wale watu katika Kenya Tourism Board, Kato na wale wengine wakienda akifanya the marketing, wale wageni wanakuja. In fact katika ile chain ya wageni unapata sisi ndio watu wa mwisho kutoa wageni pale airport kuwapeleka mahotelini. Kwa hivyo pia sisi we are in the sector ya industry ya tourism, but unfortunately tumesahaurika kabisa.
Sentiments shared by the chairman of the airport SACCO, David Gakuo.
Si tunaomba kama zile pesa zimegawa kwenye labda kwenye kama tourism industry, kama tunaweza ku-access zile pesa ili at least tupate pesa ya kuanza biashara pale, kwa sababu ya down to earth, hakuna pesa suko nazo saa hizi, na ile kazi ukianza pale kuna ile protocol imewekwa na Ministry of Health kwamba lazima tuweke viwango tofauti ile kukabiliana na hili janga ya COVID-19.
Meanwhile, Changamwe MP Omar Mwenye has donated food hampers to taxi drivers who operate in his constituency where the airport is located.
Tuelewa ya kwamba ugawaji wa chakula si rahisi, kwa sababu hatuja kuwa na network sisi kama nchi ya kujua ni nani maskini na nani ambaye anahitaji pia vile vile. Ndio naona wakati ndugu zangu wakina wawakilishi wa serikali pamoja na machifu wale wakigawanya chakula na wazee wa mtaa, baadaye wanapata malalamiko, mbona mimi mmeniacha? Kwa sababu gani? Hatuna ile mipango ya kujua nani miongoni mwetu anataka msaada zaidi kuliko yule mwingine.
Top U.S. infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci says the novel coronavirus is his worst nightmare. Dr. Fauci warning the crisis is not over as many countries, including the U.S., begin relaxing lockdown rules. One of the worst affected is India, which recorded 9,985 cases in one day and 274 deaths as the country emerged from a 2-month lockdown.
More than 7.2 cases of the coronavirus have been confirmed worldwide, including at least 411,000 deaths, according to Johns Hopkins University. Almost half of U.S. states are seeing higher rates of new COVID-19 cases as Americans go out to protest. Meanwhile, the number of coronavirus cases in India continued to rapidly increase Wednesday, with officials reporting nearly 10,000 new cases over the past 24 hours. The spike has come as the government moves forward with reopening restaurants, shopping malls and religious places in most of its states after more than 2 months lockdown. India has recorded 276,583 positive cases, the 50th highest in the world, and 7,745 deaths. In Africa, South Africa's Air Force headquarters in Pretoria has been temporarily closed after 2 people working there tested positive for coronavirus. The building was evacuated on Tuesday as a precautionary measure and will be closed for 2 days. South Africa has the highest number of coronavirus cases in the continent. In Malawi, former President Joyce Banda told a campaign rally on Tuesday that the country has no coronavirus cases and accused the government of faking numbers. Politicians are out on the campaign trail ahead of a presidential rerun on June 23rd after President Peter Mutharika's re-election last year was nullified by the courts. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News.
And back home, the perennial water shortage experienced in Gashuroi village of Kiambaa constituency in Kiambu County will now be a thing of the past after Kiambu County government moved in and drilled a twin borehole in the area at a cost of 21 million shillings. Speaking while launching the project, Governor James Nyoro said his government is keen on transforming the lives of ordinary people by delivering services closer to them.
It was a sigh of relief to over 20,000 residents of Gachoroi village in Kiambaa constituency who have been grappling with acute water shortage for years after the county government commissioned a water project in the area. 2 boreholes producing 1 million cubic meters of water have been sunk and will be able to quench the thirst of locals at a range of 11.4 kilometers where a supply pipeline will be laid.
After that, we have done a master plan for Karori, because Karori is a water deficit sub-county. na tumefanya master plan. The master plan will cost us about 400 million to make sure that we bring Karori people to the level of 80 or 85%.
Governor James Nyoro said the new project will ease the perennial water shortage that has been since independence for Sianda, Karuri and Mukadha villages.
Our plan is that over the next 2 years, we'll be able to supply water to Karori. We are exploring possibilities of getting some water in Rwaka. We think we can get a water treatment plant there. We are looking at possible springs and various boreholes.
The Kiambu County Board said that his government is keen on improving the living standards of ordinary citizens. This even as he revealed that his government has set aside 100 million shillings in the supplementary budget to facilitate provision of water for residents in the entire county.
It is our desire and the governor's desire especially to see to it that we eliminate fetching of water either by women or donkeys. And this is what we are aiming to do in the next 1 or 2 years. We are saying away with jerrycans or away with donkeys in terms of fetching water.
According to the governor, upon completion of 24 million shillings Kariminu Dam that has stalled in the wake of COVID-19, water scarcity in various areas, among them Kamwangi and Thika, will be a thing of the past.
We have been having very many challenges. Personally, I've grown up fetching water. And today I can say for our children and our children's children, they will not fetch water like we have always done. And this is very clean water, water that has been purified.
Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Timothy Kipnasu.
To Christian now, where the body of a 6-year-old child has been retrieved from the rubble of a residential building that collapsed last night in Kericho town. 2 people are admitted to the Kericho County Referral Hospital in stable condition. The 3-story Tabs apartment caved in at around 7:30 p.m. Most tenants are said to have vacated the building after noticing it appeared unstable.
6 families. But in these 6 families, there are some families wenye hawakuwa walikuwa wametoka. In fact ni Mungu, because wenye walikuwa wanaishi number 1, wao ni wale watu wanakaanga kwa nyumba most of the times. So ilikuwa ni Mungu, wao walikuwa wamesafiri wameenda kwingine. Alafu kuna wakazi mwingine na alikuwa mgonjwa, alikuwa amesafirishwa kwenda Eldoret. Na wao ndio tunakaanga sana nao. Nikashika watoto, nikakimbia nje, nikaambia my wife mpige nduru watu watoke. Hatukumaliza 3 minutes. So watu wenye walikuwa this block walikuwa aware. Wao pia wakatoka mbio mbio. So ule kijana mmoja mwenye alipatikana pale alikuwa anajaribu kuzunguka stairs ndio akapatikana huko. Otherwise watu wenye walikuwa hapo ndani walitoka.
Time for business. Hours before the budget is read, Kenyans are calling on the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani to unveil them a Mwananchi-focused budget that will improve their livelihoods. Those who spoke to KBC Channel 1 had this to say.
The government imposed movement restrictions in efforts to slow the spread of coronavirus. This has adversely affected business activities, especially those in the informal sector. To cope and adapt to the effects of the economic slowdown, Kenyans want National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani to unveil a budget that will lower the cost of living by reducing the cost of basic and essential goods.
Hata serikali tukatia hata kama ni mafuta tushikishie diesel hata kama ni kidogo bana. Maziwa tunataka pesa baka ya Kenya.
They have not zero rated anything. Things they are just as normal as they have been. In fact, they are worse. If people are being chased from their rental houses, but then the government has not come in very clearly to say, please, zero rate.
Inaweza fika wakati watu wote wakae kwa nyumba na ile kitu watakuwa wanahitaji ni chakula. Kwa hivyo agricultural sector, zero rating of agricultural inputs na and kuongeza things that can entice or they can motivate people to get into the agricultural sector.
Taxes and levies, especially for small businesses and investments, adversely affected by the coronavirus pandemic is another concern that Kenyans want to look into.
Pesa kidogo, hata kama shilingi 2,000 kila mwezi ama kila wiki, hiyo anaweza peana bodaboda na yule mama ambaye anauza mboga, kwa sababu hawafanyi kazi, wamekaa kwa maboma zao. So ati sisi pia tuonekana kwamba tuko katika Kenya yetu na kuwa tunalipa ushuru, kwa sababu tukikunywa mafuta, huu ni ushuru wetu. Kwa hivyo bodaboda tusiwache nje, tupewe pia mgao kidogo tufurahie.
Napenda waziri akaweze kuongeza kiwango na kusaidia wale watu wa chini ambao wameathirika na biashara kidogo kidogo kama bodaboda ambayo wamerent, na wale wa mama wa mboga na matunda kidogo kidogo ambayo sasa hizi hawafanyi kazi.
Others are calling on Yatani to unveil a budget that will not require Kenyans to borrow more, noting that the country needs to live within her means. The budget will be unveiled on Thursday afternoon. Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
All right. And in other business matters, it's almost 3 months since the government directed that all schools be closed to contain coronavirus pandemic. And as schools prepare to reopen on September 1st, National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani is expected to ensure an intricate balance of keeping learners in school by allocating funds for school feeding program and modernizing ICT infrastructure to support education system. Here is Alan Aoko with details.
The coronavirus pandemic has hit countries hard, and for Kenya, as it tries to budget for ICT and education, it is time to look at how this time they are joined at the hip as the coronavirus takes a big chunk of the country's budget. President Uhuru Kenyatta on March 15th this year ordered all schools to be closed due to coronavirus pandemic. By this time, learners mostly in the urban centers already had a significant advantage in that their ICT infrastructure was already in place to enable remote learning.
I want to confirm to honorable members that yes, we have guidelines which are drawn from the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development Act, which guides all of us on this particular question on electronic media learning for schools.
The whole country is now fully aware of why we need technology. We're doing all these video conferencing conversations, people are working from their homes. We need to have all the right connectivity.
According to Education Ministry estimates, it will need additional allocation in order to carry out its annual functions and also special projects that will enable such activities across the country.
We have allocated an additional 6.5 billion shillings to the Ministry of Education. The purpose of this is to hire an additional 10,000 teachers and an additional 1,000 ICT interns to support our digital learning program.
Education CS George Magoha, upon reception of the final report of the COVID-19 National Education Response Committee, hinted at an extended closure of schools, saying countries that rush to reopen schools amid rising infections eventually close them.
The situation becomes completely out of control, then we shall have to bite the bullet. The children are alive and they are at home. So what? They are at home and they are safe and they are alive. And if it means that they have to stay for a year, so be it. It is not only in Kenya where this is happening. But who knows? We could be in control in 2 months and we open and go to school. So please don't open a metal pipe and force me to say, give us dates.
Treasury is further expected to provide allocation to the school feeding program, which is facing funding gaps after the departure of development partners in order to keep learners in school when learning commences. The 2020-2021 budget comes at a time the government is facing massive revenue shortfalls, catalyzed by the COVID-19 economic fallout. Movement restrictions have meant a significant amount of commerce has gone electronic. National Treasury is now keen to ensure introduction of digital service tax in the new fiscal year, targeting all income derived or accrued in Kenya on online platforms.
Stress not only on debt, but also meeting other obligations in terms of financing government. But I want to assure Kenyans that the interventions that we put in place will sustain our trajectory of growth by making sure that we do not default on debt payment and Kenyans do not suffer.
Treasury argues that the online marketplace has grown significantly, warranting the levy. Online sales hit the 1.6 trillion shillings mark in the last quarter of 2019 and could double by the end of 2020, making the business a lucrative tax target. The Finance Bill 2020 proposes that the income from digital marketplace be levied at a rate of 1.5%. The tax, which was introduced in the current financial year, lacked regulations to allow its implementation. Nonetheless, the digital marketplace supply regulations is currently being subjected to stakeholder consultation and is expected to be in place in the new financial year to allow KRA collect the tax.
Kenya is one of the luckiest countries in the world because it already had ICT infrastructure in place that even the education sector can now ride on as the coronavirus continues to ravage on. With a budgetary allocation to the ICT sector prior the coronavirus pandemic, it seems it was a good call, at least for now. Alan Aoko, pre-budget 2020-2021.
And in other matters, Satish Kamath has left his role at Safaricom as the Chief Financial Officer to take up a similar role at Vodafone Business. Safaricom CEO Peter Ndegwa says the telco will in due course announce Kamath's replacement.
Satish Kamath joined Safaricom as the Chief Financial Officer and Executive Director on the board on 1st August 2016 from Vodacom, Tanzania, where he held a similar position. Kamath is credited with, among many other achievements, improving business performance through Fit for Future initiatives, adding 6 percentage points on pre-tax margins. The telco says Kamath played a key role in completion of acquisition of M-Pesa joint venture from Vodafone and purchase of critical spectrum while ensuring efficient use of company's funds. He also assumed broader responsibility in navigating the company through the phase when Bob Collymore was on medical leave and through transitions thereafter. Meanwhile, UAP Old Mutual Faulu Foundation and Gertrude's Hospital Foundation have announced a joint initiative to provide free COVID-19 testing for vulnerable children and personal protective equipment to healthcare workers in Nairobi. UAP Old Mutual Group CEO Arthur Oginga has emphasized the need for continued corporate support in the fight against COVID-19.
For those who live in low-income populations, although the government provides some testing, some of them may not have access for lack of transport and for many things. And also more particularly for children, because children are not symptomatic, so parents will not remember to take them for testing. So through this partnership, then we are going to provide testing for children in low-income populations, which typically are called slums.
The partnership with Gertrude's Hospital Foundation today will ensure that children, vulnerable children and their families are tested, and that testing is done in a safe environment for the healthcare workers conducting those tests.
The program will be implemented through the Gertrude's Children's Hospital outreach program in urban slum areas where healthcare support for children is much needed.
The PPEs are a must-have in any hospital right now for not just taking care of COVID-positive patients, but for taking care of regular patients with other conditions. The reason being that you don't know the next patient who walks into the hospital whether they're actually COVID-positive or COVID-negative. So protective equipment will be an ongoing cost for every single hospital, private or public, in this COVID environment, and for the simple reason that COVID is not going away anytime soon.
The Commissioner General of Prisons, Wycliffe Ogalo, says strict precautionary measures have been put in place to ensure that inmates do not contract the coronavirus. Ogola says currently prisons are closed for outsiders and no visitors are allowed into the facilities. Ogalo was speaking after receiving a donation of 50 water tanks, hand washing stations and sanitizers from the Nairobi Rotary Club.
Officers who have got excellent to ensure that as much as this is a challenge, but we are able, through other protocols that we have issued as a service, to ensure that in a way we are able to fortify ourselves against this dreaded virus. While Kenya Prison Service has effected other Ministry of Health protocols, similarly, the service has come up with implementable supplementary protocols to address our unique existence of being custodians of a confined, vulnerable population.
Let's take a look at some sports news, where Chelsea's N'Golo Kante has resumed full contact training with his teammates after training alone for a while due to COVID-19 fears. The 29-year-old was allowed to train at home by the club, even with his teammates reporting to a Cobham Training Centre for limited training as the league looks to resume on June 17th. The France international caused concern among teammates in 2018 when he fainted after a training session. Kante has made 18 league appearances for Frank Lampard's side this season. Chelsea's first game back is at Aston Villa on 21st June and they host champions Manchester City 4 days later. And that's where we put a cap on Channel 1 Lunchtime News on this 10th day of June 2020. I hope you are having yourself a very wonderful afternoon. It is cold in the city, but we do wish you the very best. And of course, do stay up to date with breaking news on Twitter at KBC Channel 1. On behalf of the team here, my name is Edward Kabasa. Our sign language interpreter has been Byron Abuli.
Vera Beauty College.
Vera Beauty and Fun.